Hi, everyone. I'm going to give a couple seconds to let people in before we get things started. All right. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining today's Wednesday Wise webinar. My name is Sydney Konahia with the International Franchise Association, and we have a great 60 minutes signed up for you all this afternoon. Before we get started, I just wanted to touch on two things. Today's webinar will be recorded, and a link to the recording along with a copy of the slide deck will be emailed out to all registrants after the webinar. And if you have any questions for today's speakers, please feel free to add them to the chat or questions box. Today's topic is Agents, AI, and Acceleration, Transforming Franchise Development with Smart Integration, and is brought to us by Fran Connect. Here to provide today's discussion are Jaffrey Ali, Chief AI Officer of Fran Connect, and Vikram Raj, Senior Vice President of Products and AI at Fran Connect. Thank you both for joining us, and thank you again to Fran Connect for sponsoring today's Wednesday Wise webinar. I will now turn things over to you guys to get us started.
Yeah, thank you, Sydney. And we're super excited to present this information to you. We have a 1 hour tight agenda. There's a lot of content to cover, and then we are happy to have follow-ups. And I believe Sydney, at the end of this presentation, will also share this content with you if you're interested. Joining me on this with this presentation is Vikram Raj, my colleague. Vikram's actually has been with Fran Connect for over 15 years, and most recently, he's been leading sort of at the forefront of some of the agents that we have developed and we have deployed to our customers. And he will walk you through the details of the agents that we'll go through. Now, even though in this presentation, we'll go through the agents that are developed and are part of the Fran Connect platform that are available, but the purpose of this presentation is to really think about the use cases and how you can use agents to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of any of your existing franchise development process. So we'll look at how agents help improve existing processes that you may have by just including them into the platform. Vikram, if you want to add a couple of things, I mean, you can add, introduce yourself if you wanted to, and then we can get directly into the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Joffrey. I think for the audience here, I think when you look at the content and you hear us talk about how you can use AI to be more effective in your Fran Dev processes, I think you should think about it like more broadly around how you can make your candidate experience better, how you can think about your sales manager's experience better, and then as executives, how do you also be effective in terms of learning about where to focus on. So we'll cover each one of these areas as we go through the various use cases and then the application of AI along the different steps in the process that you follow in your franchise sales and development process.
Yeah, and everything we'll show you, you can actually deploy and use right now. So the first thing I just wanted to highlight is, so when we were looking at these AI use cases and all of the data that we will show you, the data comes from, what we use to train this model comes from our experience with the franchise industry. And so one of the things that we did, and we also presented this at IFA's summer board meeting that we had in Colorado, where we shared some benchmark data. So what our customers allow us to do, there are about 850 customers that we have that span across the different vertical segments that you have that we cover. And we looked at their data, both from franchise development perspective as well as operations. And we use that data to inform our model. So what you'll see with AI here is that this is the first data set of its kind, where it's not just, where we build these agents and the way the agents are interacting and the problems they're solving exist in some kind of a vacuum. They were all informed by 850 brands across all of these different verticals that you see here. All of the data is anonymized, but that's how we used it, and that's how we measure the ROI from using AI in your franchise development process or the franchise sales process. So I just wanted to highlight that. The next thing is, if you looked at the data, so when we looked at the data, here were some key trends that we looked at. So the goal was, how can AI help identify where the friction exists in the process and how we can solve that with AI. So when Vikram goes through the various agents, you'll see which friction points it is addressing and how does AI actually help that process. So a couple of highlights in here. So the first insight that we got from looking at the data. So this is looking at data from 2023 to August of 2025, right? So, speed to lead is a well-known, metric in the industry. Is, your ability to close a lead is much more likely if you are able to contact a lead within an hour or less, right? So if you looked at the data, only 37% of all leads in our system were contacted within an hour. And this is true, even if you look beyond the data that we have in our system, but we could say about 37% were contacted within an hour. And if you look at the data where AI comes in, is that if you look at leads that were contacted in 5 minutes. So we've actually been testing every AI you see here, we've been testing with our customer base. And so the use case that we will go through that Vikram will describe in more detail is actually based on real data, but it has been anonymized over here. So leads that are contacted in 5 minutes are 100 times more likely to convert than those leads that are contacted beyond 1 hour. The other challenge is the volume challenge, and which is 55% of the companies or the brands that we had out of the 850 brands that we looked at anonymously take more than 5 days to respond to leads. So when this is independent of the initial engagement, but also responses to questions that they have and the ongoing response rate throughout the entire conversion process. And the conversion rate, basically, which is about 1.8% currently as it stands, so about 2%, a little bit less than 2%, means that you need 56 leads to have one award, right? So every lead is really important of how you process them. And the last insight that we have in here is that when we looked at AI and we looked at how you apply AI, what AI does is AI actually does not replace humans, right? What AI does best is that it handles scale. It can do things at scale, and it understands language and it understands data, but it is humans that build relationships. Eventually it comes down to your people, and what AI will do is it'll actually help you scale. So if you look at some of the numbers, so if you run it down, this is how we will measure the ROI during the presentation, is so if your brand receives 200 leads per month, and by the way, we can actually run an AI ROI calculator for you if you contact us after this meeting and you want to say, hey, what would your specific ROI be? We can actually do this for you as well. So if your brand receives 200 leads per month, which means 110 leads won't hear from you for about 5 days, and only 74 prospects get contacted within an hour, and only 4 leads convert to franchise awards. So which means out of 200 leads, you have an opportunity of only converting 4 leads out of those. And the average cost per closed lead is about $11,639. So those are some of the key metrics that we were looking at. And obviously, if you use AI to improve this process, or use any mechanism to improve this process, this is where your ROI is going to come from. So the last sort of overview slide that I'll get into before we get into how you use AI or how AI helps you accelerate the process is we took an example of an actual lead that existed in the system that was processed almost entirely by AI. And we looked at an example of where this lead was processed, and the sales cycle took about 10 weeks in this case, and the average sales cycle for a comparable lead is about 20 weeks, right? So it was able to save about 50% of the time in closing the lead. And this was sort of like a day in the life of what happens with AI. Now, what's interesting with AI is that an AI isn't just a single agent. So when people talk about agents and agentic architecture, really they're talking about different functions handled by different AIs that do different things. And the way one AI hands off to another AI, or how one AI complements the person or the human behind the curtains for that particular step is really, really important, right? So what happened here, and so we basically picked this because we picked an after hours inquiry that came in during a weekend. And this is a very common use case because that's how when leads come in to any franchise system. So here we take an example of a lead here called Jennifer. Jennifer submits an inquiry about a QSR brand. at 11 p.m. on Saturday. And what happens with AI is the AI responds instantly to that query. Now, the difference between AI and scheduling is really important, right? A scheduling bot, which have existed for a long time, or simple bots that exist for a long time, what they can do is that they will respond with, like something like a text form saying, "Hey, I'm so and so. When are you ready to schedule a meeting?" But the lead may not be at that point ready to request a meeting, but they may just have some questions about it, such as investment questions about territory, support, so and so forth, right? So what an agent does is that it actually interacts and engages with that particular lead at any time they want. And then it uses language to understand what the person is trying to do, their sentiment. And then if it needs to schedule something as part of the process, and obviously it can prompt for scheduling, it'll go and schedule a meeting or a call with somebody. In the meantime, what AI does is that based on this interaction and the data and the form that has come in, you can use AI, or we use AI now, to basically calculate a score based on this particular lead, which will score them based on, are there any, green flags, red flags, opportunities, where do they fit in terms of priority, all the information that they have entered in there through the conversation as well as through the lead form that they brought in, and then creates a score overnight for that lead that came in over the weekend, right? And in the meantime, the lead can engage with the bot, with the agent as however they want to see it. Then you have AI, which are called AI coach bots, right? So these are coaching AI bots, or agents are those that basically prepare content for the end user or for the user who's engaging with this data based on the information that's important for them and what they need to do for their particular job. So in this case, and we can obviously demo this for you as well, is when the rep would log into the system, their existing system that now has AI, they will actually they'll get all of the interaction as well as the score, and it says, here is a high priority lead. This is what they're interested in. This is what they need to do. And what's interesting is that AI can also prescribe what is the best course of action. And Vikram will get into a lot of details about how this thing actually works, but AI can be fed with your sales playbooks and other pieces of information. And then over time, as you're engaging with them, as you're the sales rep, there's the AI analyst, you can then go back in there and say, I'm working with multiple leads. Tell me who my best leads are. Who should I focus on? What's going on in a particular area? And you can use AI instead of going into a dashboard or a report or other things, and then basically inline into the system, ask those questions, and then from those questions, start working on what you need to do. And because everything here is so seamlessly integrated, no information is lost between the beginning interaction and the last interaction. And the user, or the lead here, is also so integrated into the process, is that you have a much higher likelihood of closing that lead, because the lead also feels that, hey, I'm being driven in a way that makes sense at my pace. I'm being provided the information. I'm being supported in a way that I want to be supported. And it basically, you can actually save 50% in the lead process. Actually, we can do an ROI. We will look at what the savings are for each step in this process. So what's interesting here is that this is a human-led process. So even though agents and AI are working in the background, this is a human-led process where the rep focuses on relationships. It eliminates administrative functions, and that's why the process gets better just through the smart integration of AI into your processes. But what's important to know that it's not a single agent, it's not a single thing. There are multiple layers of AI that are all operating with one another seamlessly, right? So that's at a high level, the use case. And then now the agents that are pertinent or important for franchise development, Vikram will go through them. And this is, even though this is in the FranConnect concept, this could actually be true for any system that you have.
Yeah, thanks, Jaffrey. I think there are a couple of points I want to call out here. So first is when we talk about speed to lead, traditionally, how brands look at solving for engaging with their candidates, their prospects, is through an automated email that goes out from a CRM that you might have set up a drip campaign on. So lead comes in, automated emails go out, and then that is believed to be initial interaction that was done with that lead. In terms of the engagement those emails get, the open rate on those emails is somewhere in the range of like 30% to 40%. So even though like that lead showed intent and interest on the inquiry on the franchise opportunity, they're still like not opening your emails. Like only 30 to 40% of emails are getting opened. On the other side, text messages, SMS, get 98% open rate. So your engagement level, or your like that interaction that is now likely to happen with that lead who received a text message, is much higher than that email response that went out through that drip campaign. And then the other important thing to keep in mind here is that it's not just like one way interaction. So you are sending out a welcome message or a thank you message in an email format or a text format to your candidates. But candidates also, like, because they are interested and they're showing intent to learn more about the franchise opportunity, is like they would have like questions that they would expect to be answered right away when they have those questions, right? So they don't want to like wait, because as we have seen, like when people have shown interest, they're oftentimes exploring multiple opportunities in one go. So a competitive advantage for your brand could be, how do we engage in the timely manner, but also how do we interact and how do we help answer questions that the candidate has in the timely manner as well, which is what AI can do for you more effectively than traditional just email based or just one directional like text messaging tools can do. The other point I want to make is, like, when as Jaffrey was mentioning about like different agents being deployed across key areas for the candidate, the reason for that is these agents are purpose built for specific individuals who are part of this loop. So for example, when the lead comes in, the interest and the types of questions that the lead has would be different than what kind of information the sales managers need to have on those candidates. So for example, when we talk about the first agent, which is candidate coach, which is purpose built for the candidates, as soon as they show interest, the lead show interest, the candidate show interest, the candidate coach starts that engagement and starts coaching that candidate about the franchise opportunity. When it comes to the sales manager, it's coaching the sales managers around that candidate to make them informed about what the interaction was between AI and the candidate about your brand. So these agents are like trained on your brand knowledge base. So it's like coaching the sales manager to be more effective with the candidate. When it comes to leadership as well as the sales managers, like how do we help now these individuals like scale, because they're not just like going to interact with that one lead. Like on an average, you're receiving 50 to 60 leads a month. And if you are a large scale brand, you're receiving 400, 500 leads a month, right? So how do you scale this effort across multiple leads? So you're focused on high quality leads who are highly engaged, highly qualified, and match your profile for your brand qualification, right? So that's how these agents, from helping the candidate in their exploration through candidate coach, helping the sales managers prioritize, helping them understand more about the candidate that has shown interest, are all like purpose built to help increase that conversion rate, that overall like pipeline conversion that most brands are looking for. So a couple of more things here. Because we are leveraging like AI to manage like most of this overhead, like AI is always available. So depending on the interest level or when the inquiry came in, and also like AI is help you create that ideal profile for the candidate. So as you have more data, you can start to learn about who is our ideal candidate, right? You might have your qualification criteria, but you might also have like certain specific sources that are better for promoting the franchise opportunity. You can also scale more easily leveraging AI. As Jaffrey mentioned, like most of the leads, 67% of the leads, data says come outside of like normal hours, like working hours. So you can easily scale these efforts as well to manage any volume of leads that you get, either through organic sources or traditional like channels that you have. So I think with that, we want to like talk more about like why would an AI solution that is built for franchise specific needs is useful, right? So you can like say like, I can use any like generic chatbot or like generic AI tools to do some of these things. But what those generic chatbots or AI tools lack is the franchise specific intelligence, right? So what your brand needs to have in terms of engagement, the interactions, the knowledge that that should be conveyed back to the candidates, these generic tools won't have, right? So you would have to do a lot of like training and like rules-based setting, automation to get the level of information back to the candidates as part of their exploration. Oftentimes, these tools are also like disconnected from your CRM. So now you have like disparate tools doing different things. How do you centralize this information so that talking about scale, you can easily, effectively scale across any volume of leads? There are also like compliance needs that franchise brands have, right? So like there are regulations that you have to follow. There are like certain checkpoints and checks and balances you need to have in terms of FDD compliance, state regulations that you might have to follow as well. And then, as we mentioned before, as your brand evolves, as your qualification process evolves, that knowledge of your specific brand is very critical to provide that effective engagement to your candidates, as well as like for your sales managers, like to be more effective with the candidates to help you convert the leads faster. So with that, we'll do a deep dive into each of the agents that we talked about and talk about how you can leverage them through your franchise awarding process. So we'll start with Candidate Coach, which is the first agent that comes into picture when the candidate shows the first engagement or the initial inquiry comes in for the interest in the franchise opportunities. What we have seen, as I mentioned before, that 67% of these leads that are coming in are coming outside of normal hours, working hours. And then if they don't get a touch point right away, that leads to missed opportunities for the brand because they are exploring other opportunities as well. So whoever reaches out first, whoever engages first, captures the interest and the attention for the candidate. Then the next thing that's also critical here is that it's not just the initial engagement, the questions that the candidate has, how do we effectively answer those? So because Candidate Coach is built on top of your franchise knowledge base, which could be your FDD, your sales playbooks, could be your franchise sales website. You also have your own like specific qualification criteria. Maybe you don't want to engage or talk to the leads that are not qualified or show interest in the states you're not registered in to franchise, right? So AI can handle all of that. A Candidate Coach can handle all of that for you without needing to send them a form or send the leads a form or get the information captured and then do manual qualification by like someone looking at each specific information that was submitted by the candidates here, right? So AI is doing that real time so that as soon as the information is available and your sales managers are working through like their own like pipeline, they have like high leads that have shown like high engagement, are qualified and have the full criteria, have matched the full criteria of your brand's profile here. How it also helps is in terms of reduction of the support cost, right? So again, traditionally, like you would wait for that call to that initial call to happen, so you can capture more information, or you send a form that can be submitted by the candidates, and all of that back and forth that happens, or the wait time that happens, also delays the deals. So this is also helping you move your leads faster by reducing your cost in terms of their engagement, right? So that's how the Candidate Coach agent helps the candidate in their exploration, get you leads that are qualified, highly engaged. So then when the sales managers, they would start their day, like let's say like taking the same example of Jennifer, when a sales manager like comes in to the office or like starts their day on Monday, they have set of leads that are already qualified. So the analysis on those leads has already been done. What Sales Coach here is doing, it's providing a recommended action plan for that sales manager to follow. It's guiding them on what are the key talking points or like objection handling tactics they can follow, again, based on all that interaction that has happened and all the previous history on all the highly effective like engagement that have happened, and the leads that have converted is all like being fed into the sales coach. So when the sales coach agent is being used by the sales managers, it's an effective action plan that is presented back to the sales managers to help them guide the candidate further through the exploration. And then the outcome of that is that the engagement that's happening between the sales manager and the candidate now is highly consistent and is high quality, because they know, like the sales managers know if exactly what to tell the candidate about any of the issues that might happen like later on as part of the journey that the candidate is going through. Also, your like head of sales or your CDOs can also use the same sales coach to understand patterns across multiple leads, right? You can also use this to understand like patterns on what should be the engagement plan for the leads or the candidates that have certain qualification criteria, certain background, certain history of maybe like they were previously franchising with some other brand, or they have like enough experience to be a successful operator, right? So you can leverage all that learning again to help individual conversations that are happening with the with each candidate to again move the candidate effectively through the sales pipeline that you have, right? So that's how the sales coaching agent can help the sales managers effectively move the leads through the pipeline as well, by guiding them through the process. Now, talking about like, we just went through like this example of like one lead, but if you have to scale this to like 50, 60 leads that you get on an average per month, or 400, 500 leads, again, depending on your brand scale, how do you effectively like prioritize like which leads we should be focused on, right? So there could be multiple leads who are highly engaged. There could be multiple leads who meet your qualification criteria. You still need another layer to further identify like who are the top 2% leads we should focus on today, as an example. So what the next set of agents are doing, the Heat Index and the Sales Data Analyst agent together are doing, it's helping you prioritize where to focus on. So when you're looking at your let's say like your sales dashboard that has like all your leads like split across like different statuses, stages, like in your pipeline, you can now with the Heat Index and the Sales Data Analyst agent, you can see like what are your top priority leads, like what leads would fit that perfect fit criteria, and then just focus on that. You can also use this to further understand your cohorts, right? Your better, you can create like these cohorts that can help you better qualify your leads, maybe update your qualification criteria, maybe update your engagement plan. So even though like these agents like are like used for different purposes, together they're helping you be more effective and then helping you close more deals. They're helping you focus your time on those like high priority deals that meet that perfect fit criteria. You can also like make this data accessible from across all levels, right? So this is not just specific to an individual sales manager or their like boss or like the head of sales, as an example. Like each sales manager can leverage what has worked well for my other team member, right? So everyone is learning from this data that's being created, this engagement that's happening. It's also real time, right? So you're basically able to prioritize. Let's say like you start your day and you have your like prioritized leads, but then as a new lead comes in and maybe like they are better fit for your brand, you don't want to like lose on that because you're just focused on like the other like let's say like 28 leads that were qualified at the start of the day, right? You want to like make that touch point right away. And then also as we mentioned, like it's learning and improving. Like AI always like learns based on what we have use it for, and then how the data is evolving. So it's always getting better over time as you leverage these solutions, right? So so that's how these agents are helping you basically like be more effective, creating that better engagement and satisfaction for your candidates, And then also, if you think about the journey, like beyond getting the franchise agreement, when that candidate becomes your franchisee, the same agents can be now deployed, or an extension of these agents can be now deployed to help support those franchisees in terms of their day-to-day operations, right? So even though we didn't cover that as part of this discussion, there are also like agents that you can deploy for helping support your franchisees, their store managers, their general managers, to be more effective in their daily operations. There's an agent that we have called franchisee support agent that can do that. That again, like runs on top of your ops manual, your operational like playbooks to make these make the franchisees effective. So all of these tools together are helping you not just grow in terms of unit growth, but also to help you improve your franchisee satisfaction right from the get-go, when someone showed interest for the first time to now when they are a franchisee and running their daily operations here. So I think the next thing we want to highlight is, like, let's say if you deploy these agents, like what kind of results you can expect. So the data says that we have looked at across the customers that we have deployed these agents on. So traditionally, like when you get somewhere around like 200 leads per month, we are averaging out like across different brand sizes, verticals, etc. here. And then when the leads are contacted, you're only able to, like, through like traditional means of like just automated emails, or like maybe you don't count automated emails, you want like someone to make a phone call, you're only able to touch base with 50% of the leads on time. With AI, you can at least like make sure that 100% of the leads that you get are getting a touch point, right? Now, based on the engagement, based on your qualification criteria, some of the leads would like self-disqualify, and then the count would decrease automatically, but you're saving that time for your recruiters, your sales managers, who would again traditionally spend time in just like getting that initial call done, to now like focusing on high quality work. So that helps you, which could be like spending time with your qualified candidates, or discovery days as an example here. So what it also ends up doing is that it improves your sales cycle, the time it takes you to like close a deal from the time the initial inquiry was made. It also reduces your cost per franchise awarded, right? Cost per franchise agreement or cost per deal. So again, like on an average across different sources, we see like around $7,500 being spent. With AI, you're able to reduce that to somewhere around like $4,500 to $5,000. And then the net of that is you're able to close more deals within a given month, as an example here. So it's helping you like the AI here is helping you scale. It's helping you with the quality, helping you with the speed to get you that ROI that you're expecting of any investment that you do within your business, right? So in this case, AI is also an investment that you'll be making. So how do we look at this in terms of getting faster ROI with our investments that we are making, right? So that's a point of view that you should take away from this slide here. So next thing we want to address is some of the common questions we hear from our customers around the use of AI. The first question oftentimes comes up is that, how would our candidates react to this, right? So do they like talking to chatbots, like, or like do they prefer talking to people? So again, data says that most of the candidates that we have ran through like our agents here, they like immediate interaction, right? They don't like to wait to get a response to the questions that they have. So as long as you are disclosing that this is our brand's AI, like you brand it to like, you call it like something specific to your brand, and you say like, I'm an assistant representing this brand. I can help you answer these questions, assist you while we get you on a call with someone on the team. The candidates like are okay as long as you disclose that, right? So that's, I think, one thing you can take from this this particular question that we oftentimes hear. The next is like, would it be hard for us to implement a solution like this? How long would it take, right? So we look at like the time to value here, like we want to like get you up and running within the 90-day time frame from the time like we start working with you. And then you start to see like measurable outcomes within 30 days of when the solution goes live, right? So it's not hard, it's not like time consuming. The level of effort is minimal to get you up and running with a solution like this. The other question we get asked is it like, what if this doesn't work for our brand, right? So the key thing here is that if we are training the AI on your brand specific knowledge base, it does a great job in terms of assisting the candidate as well as your sales managers with answering the questions. So we have success metrics that we have measured, like looked at and measured over time to see like what the effectiveness rate is, like what the time saving is, how much like satisfaction the candidate has, or like the franchisee has, like if they are leveraging our franchisee support agents. So overall, like we measure like these metrics to further refine how AI works for your brand. And so like the data tells us that, again, as long as we train the AI specific to your brand and we're not using like journal generic language, the overall like success rate is pretty high here. The other question we get asked is like, is it secure? So I think that's another key thing to think about is when you use generic chatbots, like publicly available, like AI agents that are available, they're not like secure in terms of like the data that you have, right? So within FrankConnect's environment, as an example, like any data that you store, any information you store, any interaction is specific to your brand. It's secure within your FrankConnect environment. So that's also something that we get asked. And I think you can be rest assured that the AI doesn't train the large language models here, like, and then none of your data get shared with any like brands across the FrankConnect ecosystem here. We are happy to answer any other questions that you might have, like on the Q&A or the chat, like around AI or this section as well. But I think these are the common questions that we get asked when we are implementing AI solutions for our customers.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of questions, and I've been trying to answer as many of them as I can. Like, but I haven't been able to keep up with them. So, Vikram, here are a couple of questions, right? So, Joe asked, at what point in the recruitment overview over workflow do you see or recommend the human enter the loop with the AI?
Yeah, so I think so. What we recommend and what we see work well is you should use a solution like Candidate Coach for the initial qualification. So first of all, like the initial touch base that is being made, that initial interaction that is being made. You can also use AI for the initial qualification so that depending on your lead volume, you're only spending time with the leads that have shown high intent, but also who are qualified to basically be part of your brand. And then they should be like talking to a human right after that. So usually that takes like few interactions, initial engagement, and then initial qualification, and then you get a human on a call. And then once that happens, there are other like scenarios that also happen, right? So let's say the candidate decides not to show up on the call, or they want to reschedule. So AI can handle all of that for you as well, right? So, but as long as like the candidate shows interest and they want to get on a call, that's when you get someone involved from your team to get on a call and answer their questions. The benefit here is that all those interactions that are happening between the candidate and AI are all centralized in your FrankConnect Sales CRM. So now you're like, when you get on a call, when your team gets on a call, you have the full history, and then you know like what was talked about, and that is being fed into Sales Coach. So it's a tailored plan, interaction plan that can be created here.
Yeah, so I'm answering some of the questions, and Vikram is picking up the ones that I'm not able to answer. So one of the questions, I think this has come up multiple times. Someone says, how fast to get it up and running if we do not use FrankConnect? For this, I think after this, if you send Vikram an email at vikram.raj@frankconnect.com, he can help you with the options of like how you can set it up. If you're not using FrankConnect, what your options are, because it'll depend on your side. On your size, we have a product that we just launched called FrankConnect Go. Go comes pre-integrated with AI, and if you're not a Friend Connect customer, you can get started that way, but there are other options. So unless you want to add something, I think you should reach out to Friend Connect. So Vikram, why don't you answer this question while I type in for another one. It says, how long has this AI technology been in action? Curious how long the cycle times and improvements have been tracked and measured. So that's what they want to know. Like, how long has it been long? How do we go to the cycle times? How have we made improvements? If you answer that, I'll respond to 1-4.
Yeah. So I think I'll answer that in terms of like a couple of things. So the agents we walked you through, 3 of these agents have been live like since like January of this year. So we launched Franny AI start of this year. Those agents are the sales coach, the heat index, and the sales data analyst agents. And the candidate coach was launched last month here. But we have data that talks about like the effectiveness of these AI tools and engagement like over the last like 4 to 5 years that we have leveraged to fine tune and then train these agents as well. In terms of the cycle time, in terms like how do we like train the AI? Like it takes, as I mentioned, like somewhere around initially, like it takes around like 3 to 4 weeks to get you up and running. And then we do an audit, like post that 4-week time frame to see like what the effectiveness rates were of the initial engagement that happened. And then within like next 2 weeks, we are fine tuning the training part. So all in all, like within 90 days, like you're up and running and like you start to see like positive ROI like on all of this, right? So you can start testing this with your real leads within 3 to 4 weeks, and then within 90 days, like you'll see like all your questions that your candidates have been answered, your qualification criteria have been done really effectively.
Yeah. So the other question is thanks for answering that. The other question is like, this is an interesting question from Greg. He says, how soon before agents will replace recruiters? And I think obviously the answer is probably they will not replace recruiters, because AI is, if you look at the way we've shown it here, AI helps your recruiters or humans to be more effective. Humans are the ones that build the relationships. AI is for scaling. And so you'll need fewer recruiters, or you can use your existing recruiters to manage more leads and do more with them. And so you will not need to have as many. But I don't know, Vikram, if you have a different perspective.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'll add here is that, as we all know, like in like working in franchising, like I've been in the industry like for more than 16 years now. Like it's a relationship based business, right? So I think there's no replacement for that relationship part that humans can do or the recruiters can do. But the question is like, how do we make them effective, right? How do we help them? How do we give them tools so that they're also like spending the time on high quality tasks?
Yeah. So another question was, about cost and all that. I'll respond to that over here. So this, Vikram, this is the one for you also, if you take this one. Do you see applications here for franchise consultants, or is there not a priority for it? In fact, that's a great question, because we could have a webinar right on that. So for franchise, we actually do have agents for that. Vikram, why don't you take that on?
Yeah, I think if you're so I think if you are a franchise consultant, and I'm assuming like by franchise consultant you mean helping franchise brands with this process, like as well. So you can use this like to basically do similar activities that we talked about, like that are applicable for a specific franchise brand. You can scale it across brands, and then you can then provide like high quality leads that are now like either like, depending on the
yeah. I just want to say we also have ops support agent, which is available. We didn't bring it here because this is talking about franchise development, but we also have for
I think with the franchise consultant, like I think we received a clarification. It's franchise brokers. So I think so I think you can use the same tools as a franchise broker as well, and then tailor the engagement to specific brands, like depending on the brands you work with, and then provide high quality leads as a handoff to your brands you work with. The level of like engagement we can talk through with you, like if you're interested. But I think the same solutions that apply here to a specific brand could be applied to franchise brokers as well. Like the same workflows are happening, right? So
yeah. Another question, Vikram, before we go to the next one. Like, by the way, reach out to either one of us if you have more questions. I think it says, do you have an agent that can talk to multi-unit, multi-brand Mambo inquiries or almost a group of decision makers?
Yeah, so I think these agents, like the candidate coach as an example, can be tailored to specific types of inquiries as well. So as part of the training, what we do is we would define how the interactions need to change based on the level of interest, in terms of like, am I interested to like open a one location or buy one location agreement or 10 location agreement. This can also work with your existing franchisees, like, so for example, like resales or expansion deals. So the interaction can be tailored based on the deal type that you have, and then the communication that goes out can also be tailored, right? So those configurations are available.
Yeah. Well, we can take some of these questions. There's so many questions. I don't think I can keep up with what's with all of them. But the last one I'll just do here is that your example is based on 200 inquiries a month. Can this be cost effective or 20 or less inquiries per month? And Vikram, you can take it because you have more experience with it. But I think we've.
Yeah. So I think so the effectiveness you'll see like would vary based on the number of leads that you get. So if you have, for example, like 20 leads that you get per month or less, in those cases, I think you can think about at what point you manage that engagement. I think that initial engagement is still valuable because when these leads are coming in, as we mentioned, like 67% of these leads are coming outside of normal working hours, right? So that engagement level like should still be thought about. What time the engagement happens should still be thought about. But then at what time, at what point in the journey, like the human takes over, is I think what you can change or think differently when you have 20 leads versus 200 leads. But that initial engagement still should happen. Same thing should be applicable here, like for the sales coaching part, right? So when you have like, let's say like 20 leads that you get versus 200 leads, you still want to provide that quality engagement, but because you have to think about from the candidate's perspective, right? So the candidate that's showing interest in your brand is potentially showing interest in other brands as well. So how do you then make sure that your engagement is as good as your peers or as your competitors, right? So I think the same solutions can apply to like any volume. The effectiveness, like how you measure ROI, could be different here. So other question is like, what happens if the lead doesn't respond to the initial text? Yeah, so the candidate coach would send out reminders like after the initial inquiry is being made, the initial text goes out. After certain number of days, there are reminders that go out to the candidate. So the goal is like to keep that engagement consistent and ongoing. So those reminders can also happen here.
Okay.
Yep.
So just to wrap up the session today, and we can keep it up with questions if we need to. So, we had some excellent questions here. So if if you want to see more, we talked about these agents, we talked about some case studies, but if you want us to do a discovery, if you want us to do a custom demo for you of how these agents work, obviously, if you're a Friend Connect customer, it's easier for us to do that, but we're happy to do it for anyone. If you want to do an ROI analysis, we can do an ROI analysis that looks at all of the agents working together or individual agents in your environment, because depending on what your challenges are and what your priorities are, we can do that for you. And so for any of these, whether you want to do an assessment, live demo, look at a custom ROI calculator, we're happy to do that for you. You can reach out to Vikram, who's here, because Vikram leads the AI team and the AI initiatives. His email address, I don't know if it's at the end of this presentation, but it's vikram.raj@friendconnect.com, and he can help you. So Vikram, if you want to wrap up on this slide, and I think we just have a last follow-up here, and then you guys can ask questions.
Yeah, and I think as Jaffrey mentioned, like we can do an assessment for you on like where you are, like the number of leads you get, like how effective these solutions would be. Like happy to do that, working with you. So just feel free to reach out. I think if Jaffrey go to the next slide, our email addresses are listed over there. So if someone wants to take a note of that, feel free to reach out, and then we can do a one-on-one session, answer any specific questions. that we might not have answered today, or you might have for us.
Yeah. All right, guys, if you didn't get your questions, we'll answer, like, just reach out to us and happy to answer it for you. But thank you otherwise, everyone, for your time. And we have about 10 minutes. Actually, we have 10 minutes. So if anyone's staying on, Vikram, I don't know if you want to answer a question. Someone said, could we get a recording? Yes, you'll get the recording. The question is the 1.8% conversion rate based on candidates that shared data with you to a sold franchise. Vikram, do you know what the 8% is? It like once the lead becomes qualified or added into the system?
Yeah, it's from initial inquiry to conversion.
Initial
Yeah.
conversion. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I think there's some other, yep. Thank you. Thank you, Gail, and everyone else. So if you didn't get to your questions, we'll get to it later on. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Jeffrey and Vikram, for your time, and Fran Connect for the sponsorship. I will be shooting you guys all of the questions that I was able to kind of jot down just so you have them. But yeah, please feel free to reach out to them if you weren't able to ask a question or we just didn't get to it. But the recording and the slide deck will be sent around later. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and a wonderful upcoming weekend. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.